Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Now the deep dives are out for Shocker and Sandman. I already uploaded the breakdown for Shocker's deep dive. So it means we need to break down Sandman, and I do think that Shocker is going to be the more popular champion just because he has more interesting straightforward loop that is going to be faster. I don't think Sandman is going to be as fast of a champion. At the same time, I really do like what they have done with Sandman. And I'm not just talking in the graphics department, because the animations of Sandman are absolutely amazing, and that alone is worth pointing out. But I genuinely like him as a champion. He kind of strikes me a bit similar to kind of a mix of a Howard the Duck and Anti-Venom, I suppose, where he does have the tons of debuffs that fall off one at a time, and then at the same time you do have this kind of like a ramp up utility and ramp up damage that you can do in like longer fights. But we're gonna get to it, and let me break him down the best I can. But yeah, I really like the character model as well. The base idea is that he's going to be building up his resistance charges and also his heavy proficiency charges. Whenever you use a heavy attack and knock opponent down, you basically increase the attack rating of all your future heavy attacks, and he will have a way to spam his heavy attacks basically. And then the entire core mechanic kind of relies on you gaining your resistance charges basically by landing hits, and then just entering your unstable form and unleashing chaos. You will have access to quite a lot of petrify effects very early on your level ones, and also suppression debuffs, which will obviously let you be more aggressive. And then there's also physical vulnerability, and as we saw there's quite a lot of block damage. So let me quickly, I think that was a small accident, so let us get back to the start so I can break him down the best I can. So here we can see that in longer fights, he definitely is going to be capable of delivering quite a lot of burst damage without much issue, and he had only landed like half his heavies here as well. He can do better than that for sure. And there we go. So Sandman's immune to bleed, poison, and shock effects. So he is a triple immune champion. Both of recoil mastery immunities are here as well, which I do like a lot, given that science class is not necessarily the most recoil friendly class in general. Also, Sandman's personal debuffs can be inflicted through block and are paused during all special attacks and expire one at a time every second. All of his debuffs has base duration of 1 second, but he always inflicts like 5, 10, 15, or sometimes even 50 debuffs, so they last quite a long time. Also, knocking down the opponent with a heavy attack grants Sandman an indefinite heavy proficiency passive, increasing his attack rating by quite a significant amount during heavy attacks, max stacks of 10. His awakened ability, while unstable, Sandman gains an indefinite fury. Again, that's about 100% fury. And also, Sandman's heavy proficiency passives grant an additional attack rating, so even more damage there. But again, still, I think he is going to be a ramp-up champion at large. So, activating his special attacks will inflict some debuffs on your opponent. You have Deaccelerate, you have Petrify, I believe you also have Suppression that you can access. And they are relatively potent. I believe Petrifies were about 8%, the Suppression was about 5%. But, you know, when you inflict 10 Petrifies, that immediately is 80%. Plus, obviously, Despair Mastery, reducing the region even further. So they did seem actually relatively potent, which I did like. And there is an ability for you to kind of like stack them up further. And basically, by landing hits, you build up your resists, and you build up more resists by activating like your level 1 and then going unstable in the middle of your special attack, or you can just be unstable before you activate it. His immunities, whenever they would trigger against skill champions, do remove his resistance. So that is going to be important when fighting against Sandman. Using skill champions is going to give you a huge advantage, because you're going to be able to get from his resist up, and you will not have to deal with his unstable form. Because in his unstable form, he's also passively unstoppable. And whenever he's charging heavy attack, he can also tank that hit by being indestructible there as well. So it is quite a bit of a pain to deal with, in a way where if you do let him enter his unstable form, then you're probably going to have to dance around for quite a bit, or ideally just make sure he doesn't get to enter that unstable form. And here we go. We have the deaccelerates. We have suppressions in this example here. He also can root opponents when throwing heavy attacks or when connecting the first hit of his heavy attack, I believe, in his unstable form. And that means that opponents aren't going to be throwing special attacks. And that root is long enough for you to start charging the next heavy attack. So whilst you are unstable, you can basically spam your heavy attacks. Now, it is important to note, when unstable, whenever you land hits against your opponent, you will be losing your resistances basically until your unstable goes away, and then you kind of need to restart the loop. So he's going to have a very cyclical damage output, cyclical kind of bursts of damage in a sense. But he will have a relatively easy to access route that you will be able to trigger quite frequently throughout the fight. Important note, his level 3 will inflict quite a lot of physical vulnerability. I believe here we can see the level 1 petrifies. Basically, you get inflict 2 on activation and then 2 on each hit as well, for a total of 10, if I'm not mistaken. And with the deaccelerate, I think it was even further than that. We can see that it goes up to like 30 of those. So there's quite a lot of utilities, and like many other science champions, we need to realize that, deaccelerate, if it's easily accessible and if it goes over 100%, which this one did with a single special attack, is a very good form of utility. And the same thing for petrify. Petrify is one of the best forms of utility if they can be easy to access, because ultimately that is where, like, even in the new spy debuff, the deaccelerate is virtually like the only actual sustainable bit of utility there that is most noticeable. And in this kit, in between his petrify, his deaccelerate, his triple immunities, his suppression debuffs, I do think there's quite a lot of cool things going on for the guy, for him to be useful. He might not necessarily be the best volume attacker because, as I said, you will want to ramp him up, spam your heavy attacks to get those attack bonuses from that, from heavy proficiency, and his damage is going to be relatively cyclical, but also kind of like a ramp up type of damage, where in the longest fights you're probably going to want to spam his level 3 for physical vulnerabilities to increase the bursts of damage as well. But ultimately, it's going to be interesting to see how he is in short, medium type of format fights, where basically his entire rotation is throw specials, whichever one you like, and throw heavy attacks at your opponent. That's it. In longer fights, go for level 3s because of physical vulnerability, or if you need to access specific utility, then stick to that special attack. There is no level 1, level 3, level 2 type of thing going on or anything like that. It's basically hit the opponent, inflict debuffs, throw your heavies, amass that heavy proficiency, and throw your special attacks type of thing. And there is no kind of grand plan. And I actually like champions like that. That being said, again, I do have my worries on his speed in short to medium fights. I do think in long fights he's going to do quite well. I'm going to showcase some of the screenshots later that will probably prove my theory there. But let's take a look at synergies first. So we have Mantis, gain true accuracy buff for 10 seconds when the opponent is inflicted with sleep. I don't think this is good synergy because Mantis, if she really needs that true accuracy buff in a matchup, she needs it way before she puts opponents to sleep. So there is that. And with Sandman, after special 3, Sandman gains a Fury passive granting 30% attack rating. Yeah, sure, why not? A bit more extra attack for the matchups that you would use that. This synergy, I think, is quite decent for some. Each hit, so for Venom, when special attack gains additional 10% chance to steal a buff, it's not too bad. Green Goblin, power drain effects from Green Goblin's Bag of Tricks also deal a burst of 20% energy damage, not too bad. And Sandman's petrified debuffs go from 8% to 10%, so become even more potent. Neat. Again, nothing too crazy. Now with Spider-Man, increase the EMP web shooter's power drain by 15%. I think it's nothing too special. Spider-Man stealth suit, plus 5 physical resistance per unspent web cartridge. Again, given the fact that you spend 2 of them virtually immediately, yeah, I don't think this is great. I don't think this is the... He only has 5 to start with, and then you get rid of them fast. Then Sandman, while the opponent is deaccelerated by Sandman's special attack 2, Sandman cannot miss. I think that's quite decent. It is a miss counter. It is on level 2. Wish it was level 1 though. But, an additional way to bypass miss, it's neat. And that's it. There are no more unique synergies. However, here we can see that here he is taking on like Abyss of Legends, Dormammu. And when you do ramp him up, you have like at this point I believe he has thrown 2 level 3s in this fight and like a level 2. So, so I think it's a level 2 and 2 level 3s thrown in this fight. And we can see that Mamu is already like almost halfway down. He still has first set 18 charges left in the first set. And he's dealing a very, very noticeable amount of burst damage here. I think we're going to see him do like 58k debuff burst by spamming that heavy attack. And that again is affected by obviously the physical vulnerabilities for each of the debuffs that he has on the opponent and all that other good stuff. He has that passive fury, he has the heavy proficiency. So I do think when you ramp him up, he's going to have some gnarly damage output, similar to like anti-venom or something, or like Hover the Duck, I suppose. But again, the key, I think, to Sandman's short-term and mass popularity, like Sandman's definitely a champion that I will like, because I do like champions like Mr. Fantastic, like anti-venom, so on and so forth. At the same time, obviously, those champions are not necessarily the best for short, medium fight content, and whether and how good he's going to be is going to pretty much entirely depend on how quickly you can get his damage output to a reasonable standard and how quickly he can do these short, medium fights. Because realistically, we don't do Abyss daily. We don't do this a lot. Like these Everest type of fights is probably less than 1% of the fights that an average player put in. 90+% of our fights is Battlegrounds, Alliance Quest, casual questing. They're short, medium type fights. And kind of like Shuri. Shuri can do well in Abyss, but Shuri is known as the biggest noodle because she does absolutely awful in short and medium fights. I'm not saying that he's going to be like Shuri. What I'm trying to say is that ramp up champions in this game at the moment are just not loved because we don't need them. Because nobody cares for it. Because, you don't do Abyss every day. What you do every day is Alliance Quest, Alliance or Battlegrounds, casual questing. And I don't know he's going to be good in that. All of that is going to depend on how well he ramps up and how quickly he can make his damage output, decent. And that obviously remains to be seen and to be tested. But as a champion, as a concept, as a design based on immunities, based on what kind of debuffs he can access, I really do like him. I can't deny that. Again, I do think majority of the player base will like Shocker more because he's just designed for the content that we care for more, I think. Let me know what you guys think and what is your opinion on Sandman. And that's going to be pretty much it. As I said, I already uploaded Shocker's deep dive, so that is the previous video uploaded. Hope you guys enjoyed it and hit all the good buttons. See ya. Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the